So today we're going to look at 20 manipulative behaviours that narcissistic parents use that professionals might miss. So first off, we're going to look at the category of child manipulation, and I've done a video on more in depth in this, but let's look at the 5 main behaviours within that. So the first one is encouraging the child to keep secrets, which is essentially keeping you out and aligning them with them, and us against the world kind of a vibe. Framing themselves as the victim, so telling them that the relationship breakup was your fault, that you want to be a family and the reason you can't be a family is them, or the reason you can't go on holidays because of them. Everything, basically just you're the bad guy, they're the good guy. Creating loyalty tests, so getting the child to choose between you, whether that be, what do you want to do this weekend? Would you rather be with me or do you want to go there? And it's not that simple, because there's a hell of a lot of manipulation that's gone on in the background before they even ask that question. Emotional parentification, so it's called a role reversal in psychology, and it's essentially when the child becomes the caretaker of the parent's feelings. So the child learns very early on that their behaviour, their words, everything that they do has an emotional impact on their parent, and rather than the parent being able to regulate that themselves, the child learns that they're going to have to do it. So they monitor what they say, they apologize when they don't need to apologize, they soothe when it's not their job to soothe. So lots of things under that. And finally, telling the child that the other parent is dangerous. Now that can be overtly or covertly. It can be, did you see any bottles of alcohol at when you went to your mum's? Did your dad shout at you this time? It's that planting of a seed. So that's the child manipulation category, and there's 5 of those behaviours. So next one, let's look at narrative manipulation. We're going to look at 4 behaviours within that. So presenting themselves as calm and reasonable. Narcissists are always dysregulated to some degree because they've never learned the tools to regulate. They didn't have that as a child, and so, but they've learned how to act. They've learned how to come across in a certain way, and presenting as calm and reasonable ticks boxes for professionals. That's what they want to see from a parent. You're more raw because your experience is authentic, and that contrast between the two of you, they play on that, they manipulate that. It doesn't take much to kick them out of being calm and reasonable, and you'll see the majority of it. They literally might be able to hold on to it during a court hearing, but as soon as they get out, they might fire you an email, or, you know, things that are going on that you don't get to see. Accusing the other parent of alienation first, so or alienating behaviours, I'll use instead. So it's that counter allegation. Again, this could also be domestic abuse, could be an allegation as well that they get in first. Essentially, it's about the preemptive strike. They're getting in first, getting the narrative set straight off the bat. Reframing safeguarding as hostility. So anything that you do to put boundaries in place around yourself and the children, that is labelled as you being problematic. And using therapeutic language to appear insightful. So talking about boundaries, talking about gaslighting, talking about enmeshment, talking about wounds, that kind of language is all designed to make them look like they've done some work when actually they've not. They've just Googled something. They've not gone deep. They've not learned anything about themselves. Oh, trauma, that's another great one that they use. Trauma is valid, but they don't know that it's a surface level for them. Yes, they've experienced trauma, but there's no depth to that. So the next category is court strategy, how they use the court to manipulate. And this is filing repeated allegations. Literally can be, you've got out of court, you've got an agreement in place, day or two later, boom, another allegation, because it didn't go their way. So they have to try and regain control of the narrative. It's also designed to obviously wear you down, spend your money, everything to regain control. Producing overwhelming amounts of irrelevant evidence, that being the key word here. They don't have voluminous evidence. They have no evidence, but they produce a lot of it to overwhelm, because you've got to go through it all. And the court might have to go through it, and they, you know, we as humans are shut off after a certain period of time, and that's all part of the design. And presenting selective communication, so the cherry picking of text messages without any of the baiting that has gone on beforehand, without any context. Narcissists hate context. I've talked about that before. So that's how they can manipulate the court strategy. Professional charm. You know they can be very charming. You fell for them at the start because of that. Now that looks different in very different ways. It can be sort of overtly Prince Charming, or it can be damsel in distress. They're both classed as being charming, but they can do this with professionals. So they can be very friendly, lots of compliments straight off the bat, trying to align with them. I know you'll understand this, and I respect you for this, that and the other. And it's all very surface level to try and build rapport, and they're actually really good at building rapport, even though they lack the physiological sort of structures to do some of it. They have learned. This is a cognitive mirroring, not an empathetic mirroring. They can appear cooperative, so they can, you know, respond, they can engage, but only as long as things are going their way. Whereas you can feel picked on, you can feel that you're being targeted, and so you can withdraw at times because you're overwhelmed. You know, if they're sending you thousands of text messages, you can feel very overwhelmed, and so you can withdraw from the process or from an individual professional, not necessarily because of that professional, though sometimes it is, but because of everything that's going on. But because they are so calculated, they can keep showing up. And again, looking through that parent perspective, they're looking at a parent who shows up versus a parent who withdraws, who maybe isn't available. And it's important to understand how that is manipulated. And of offering plausible explanations for concerns. So they're really good at using child-focused language. But if you ask any questions, and if only professionals would ask more questions, and they dove a little bit deeper into, well, what do you mean by that? Can you give me some examples of that? They wouldn't know, because they, like I said, they've Googled the terms. They understood some terms, but they don't know what it means. So they'll say a lot. This is in the child's best interests, or we've got to focus on the child's welfare. Actually, what they're trying to do is just bully you and using the children as the ramming fork to do it. So the next category is child narrative engineering. So this is when they involve the child to basically toe the party line. It's like politics. So they coach the child to say certain things. And often that can just be through repetition. If you hear something enough times, you do start speaking in the same way, start using words. That's how colloquialism gets passed along, is that repetition. So that's one way they do that. They can overtly coach the child by, when they ask you this, don't say that. Tell them about this. Don't forget to say that. Sometimes it is that. Sometimes it's much less overt than that, and it's just the constant conditioning of the child learning through trial and error things that they can and can't say. So if the child says, I had a nice time with that parent, and the other parent gets really mad or withdraws, they learn, I shouldn't say that. Equally the opposite, if they say, oh, I had a great time with you, I really enjoyed being here, I don't want to go and see them, then the other parent will be like, oh yeah, brilliant, really happy, and buys them nice things. So they learn to say that. So they use positive and negative reinforcement, and they encourage the child to exaggerate their fears. And this might be physically, so it might be handovers that they're kicking off and going over the top. I've witnessed it. A parent, you know, the children just being mental, literally, like arriving and just being rah! But the parent was egging them on to do all of these things. I've only got 30 seconds to cover psychological pressure, which is the final one, which is what I've just spoken about, rewarding rejection of the parent and pushing affection towards the other parent. Let me know how many of those you have experienced and what else you got to say. Don't forget to check out all the free resources at getcaughtready.co.uk. Take care, everyone. Bye.